Today we're going to start our last software package. We're going to take a look at Access. If you turn in your textbook, it's that orange section. And if I can get you to turn over to page AC2, you can kind of see what we're going to create in Access. I am going to include a PowerPoint for you to open, and you might want to print that and have that in front of you as you're working through this chapter. I'm going to open this up. We're going to talk for just a few minutes about what Access is and what it's going to do for us. But I have included a bunch of screenshots that should be helpful to you as you're working through this chapter. So Access is a database. It's a collection of data, and it's organized in a manner that's going to allow us to easily retrieve it and use that data. There are different parts of Access. We're going to create tables. Tables that are going to consist of fields and records, and we'll have to set up a primary key. So quite a bit of terminology at the beginning of the chapter. You'll want to read the chapter, make sure you're good with all of these vocabulary words. So a field contains a specific piece of information within a record. So here in this example, my fields are name, username, street address, city, state, postal code. Those are my fields. A record is one row in the table. So all the information down here at the bottom about me, that is my record. So a row and a record mean the same thing. It contains information about a given person, a product, or an event. And then we have to set up something called a primary key. So a primary key is a unique identifier, so we don't have any duplicates. So for example, if there were two Missy Cottons, to keep them straight, I would set up a username for you and assign you that username so I can keep track of which person is which. So that is called the primary key, and that's a unique identifier. So 3 words of terminology here to be familiar with. So you're going to create some tables in Access, and when you're setting up your tables, you're going to field names, sizes, and types. So to determine your field type, you are going to decide, is it going to be text? Do I need to work with numbers? Am I going to work with money? Is it date and time? These are some of the variety of types available in Access. Most of the time you're going to use short text. Short text is the most user-friendly. It lets you type in any characters, and you can type up to 255 characters in a field. The next thing is you need to determine the field size, and as you're setting up your table, you will type in the size at the bottom part of the design grid. You're going to decide how many characters long each entry needs to be. So for example, if I have a field called state, I only need 2 characters to record the size of my state. So Missouri is 2 characters. If I use the state abbreviation, New York, California, you can kind of see how that works. Postal code, on the other hand, if I counted all my characters, that's 5 characters wide, so I would set that up as a size of 5. So to get started, we are going to have you create a blank database, and the weird thing about Access is you name and save it at the very, very beginning. So this is important that you take a look at this screen, because lots of students just come in here and they hit create, and they don't know where they're saving it. So an important step when you go to create this, you need to choose a blank database, type in the name, type your name on there so we know it's yours, and hit this file folder. And then you decide, do I want to save it to my hard drive, or am I going to put it in a certain folder? You look at your path here so you know where it's saved. Maybe write that down and then hit create. And this is what we're going to do first. We're going to set up our first table. So this is going to walk us through how to set up a table. So I'm going to get into Access so you can see what that looks like. But we'll keep popping back to PowerPoint. I've got several different screenshots for you to take a look at, and hopefully that will help you as you work through this chapter on Access. So let me escape, get out of that. I'm going to go to Access, and we're going to create a blank desktop database. What we've got going here is we have a company. It's called the PrattLast company, and they're account managers, and we're going to keep track of an account manager's table. So we have 4 workers that work for us that you can see on page 2. We have Haiti, Mark, Peter, and Karen, and then we have a lot of accounts that we're responsible for. So you can see both of those small tables easy too. So the worst part of this first chapter is going to be data entry. We've got to enter quite a bit of data. Okay, so I have chosen blank database. I'm going to hit my file folder. And you want to save it to your desktop. You know, where do you want to save it? Make sure you're okay with where you're going to save it. Give it a name. I'm going to call mine PrattLast with my name. And we'll okay it and then hit create. Okay, and this is what access looks like when you first get started. You still have the quick access toolbar. We can add tools to it very easily right here. A tool that we're going to use here in a few minutes if you want to get the drop down. If you want to go to more commands, look for save as for me. Let's just go ahead and add that while we're looking at this. So choose save as and we'll add that. And let's okay it. So your save as tool is up here for you and you'll have that in a little bit when we need it. We still have our ribbon. The ribbon's still the control center. On the left side of your screen, this is called the navigation pane. And then over here on the right, this is where we're going to build our table. So we're going to set up our very first table. We're going to go up to create. And we're going to go to table. And we need to go to design view. And our very first table, we're going to make the small table to start with. It's called our account manager table. So let's type in account manager table. And we're going to put your name on everything. So we'll know that it's yours. And we'll click OK. And this is what the design view of a table looks like. So I'm going to decide my field names, the types, and the sizes. The sizes down here at the bottom. So those three vocabulary words that we just looked at, we're going to take a look at that right here. Okay, so let's get you over in your textbook. If you flip over to page AC9, this is where the structure of the table is. So our very first field is going to be our account manager number. And our data type is short text. So let's get the drop down here, short text. It is going to be set up as our primary key or our unique identifier. Each account manager is going to have their own special number. And it should already be set up for you, but you should see the little primary key symbol over here at the far left. If it is not there for you, you can go click on it up on your ribbon. But by default, that very first field should be set up as the primary key. Now the size of this is going to be 2 characters wide. So adjust your field size down at the lower pane. And they have a little caption on this. So let's go down to caption. Also in the lower pane. And it's AM hashtag or your little pound sign. Okay, we go up to the upper pane and take a minute and let's type in last name. It's going to be short text and it's going to be 15 characters wide. At any point, if I needed to adjust the field size or make an adjustment or change, I can always come back over here to design view and adjust that. We've got first name, it's short text, and it is 15 characters wide. We got street, short text, and it's going to be 20. City, short text, and 20. If it were going to be longer than 255 characters, I would choose long text. We have state, short text, and 2. Postal code, short text, and 5. And then we've got start date. And we're going to record those as date and time. So go to your type and choose date and time. No adjustment is needed in the lower pane. And then we have salary. We're going to record that as currency. So we're going with dollars and cents there. And then finally, the last one is a bonus rate. And our bonus rate, we're going to set it up as a number. Usually you select a number if it's going to be something that you might want to calculate later on down the road. So I'm going to adjust my data type for number, and then I need to come down to the lower pane and make 3 adjustments here. Our field size, if you click in there, you should get a drop down. Our field size is going to be fixed. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's going to be single here. Single for field size, the format right below fixed. And then your decimal places, they adjust that to 2. So 3 little adjustments down for the bonus rate. So this is the structure for our very first field table for our account manager. We need to save this. Open, click on save. And then let's go back to view. Remember, this is design view that we're in. We're going to go to Datasheet View, and this is what Datasheet View looks like. So everything up here at the top, up in gray, that's what we just created. And now our job is to stick in the 4 people that work for us. So if I can get you to turn over and take a look in your textbook, we'll take a look at the bottom of page 24. And we're going to type in our first worker is 31, Rivera. And you can use your arrow keys, you can tab, you can click with your mouse to move from field to field. And you can enter those horizontally or vertically. If you mess up, you can backspace and delete. Now, some of these fields are not going to be big enough, so I'll show you that best fit idea in a minute. Remember working with that in Excel. That also will work for us over in Access. Notice the currency field is already set up for us. We don't have to type in a $. It's already there for us. You can, again, type it in vertically or horizontally. So you might put me on pause if you want to while we get this all plugged in. Or if you want to keep working while I'm working. This is an example of the street field is not large enough, so I'm going to best fit that. I'm going to get between these grid lines and just double click. That's going to stretch that out for us. So there's just 4 records here to plug in. So a row is a record, and we'll get these plugged in. And this is our first table. All right, last one. Just keeping track of your records down here at the bottom, so I can see I'm on record 4. Then I would want to proofread this and make sure that I don't have any mistakes. And again, I can make any adjustments here that I need to. I can add records to this at any time. I can delete records. If I would lose a worker and maybe employ somebody else, I can add records to that. If I needed to delete a record, I could do that right here. If I needed to add a new record, I can do that right here. So I'm going to hit save, just a regular save, and that is our very first table. So if we go back to our PowerPoint, you just walked through how to create a table. And now we are ready for, we did our design view. We're going to set up our second table. So our second table is quite a bit larger than our first table. So we'll set up the structure together, and then I'll go open one that I already have created for you. All right, so we're going to come over here. We can see in the navigation pane that our first table is created for us. We're ready to create our second table. So we'll go to Create and Table. Again, we'll go to View, and we'll go to Design View, just like we did a few minutes ago. This time, we're going to create the table of all of our accounts. So this is just called our account table, again, with your name on the tail end. And we go back to Design View. Hopefully this is looking familiar to you, and we will set up our next structure. Your next structure is over on page AC31, and let's go through and set up our field names. We're going to have an account number. It's going to be short text. It's going to be our primary key. And it's going to be 5 characters wide, so don't forget to adjust your size at the bottom. And this has a little caption, so let's go down to caption, and it's called AC hashtag. We're going to keep track of our account name. It's short text and 30. We have street, and it's short text and 20. City, short text and 20. State, short text and 2. Postal code, short text and 5. And then we're going to keep track of the amount they paid us. It's going to be set up as currency. Remember, we don't have to make any adjustments at the bottom. Current due is going to be set up as currency as well. And finally, the last one is account manager number. And that's really important to notice that that field is the same as a field name that we have in our other table, and that's going to allow us to join those two tables after a bit. In Chapter 2, we're going to work with the same database, and we'll be able to connect the two tables, so that's important. Everything about that field needs to be the same, so it needs to be short text, it needs to be 2 characters wide, and I had a caption over in my other table, so AM hashtag needs to be down here. So I have my field names and types, my primary key set up. I have my types set up. Let's save it. And remember, we go to View, and we go to Datasheet View. And you start entering all of your records in Datasheet View. So put me on pause while you do that. And I'm going to just open mine up instead of waiting and taking time to type all those in again. I'm going to just open up a different file. So put me on pause, type in all of those records, and then join me again. So here's the one that I just created already. We did that one together. Here's your big one. So you should have just made that. You've got that created, and now you're ready to roll. Let me delete these last things I've already created. We're going to recreate those together. So you have set up two tables, a large one and a small one, for the account manager and the account table. And our next job is to a couple things with the data that we just entered. So one thing that we might want to do is set up a query. So a query is posing a question to the database. So as we go through here, you go through all your PowerPoints, and I kind of show you step by step on what you're doing here. So we're going to pose a question to the database. If you wanted to flip over and take a look in your textbook, page AC 34 through 36 kind of walks you through this. So these are the steps that you need to set up a query. So we're going to search our database and try to pull up just certain records. So we're going to go up to Create. We're going to go to Query Wizard. And we're going to make a simple query wizard. And we need to make sure that we're searching our account table. So if you needed to adjust tables, you can do that at the top. And they want us to pull over just a certain amount of fields. They don't want all the fields. So I want account number. And if I use the little arrow in the middle, that'll move things over to the right. Or you can just double click. We want account number, account name, amount paid, current due, and account manager number. So we're going to leave the address info over to the far left. Let's go next. Next. And we're going to call this, let's put query 1 on the end of it so we can keep track of which query is which. And we hit finish. And this is what a query looks like. Instead of us seeing all the address information, I am just pulling up exactly what I asked Access to look for. You know, sometimes you might need names and phone numbers or names and addresses. I don't need to see everybody's information, but I just want to pull over a little bit. That's an example of a query. When you use the wizard, it is saved automatically. Notice I haven't saved it. Some students, that kind of freaks them out and they get scared about that. So if you want to hit save, you sure can. You don't have to. Okay, we're going to narrow our search a little bit more, and we're going to go a little deeper and set up the second query. To set up the second query, we're just going to have you right click and go to Design View. And we've been to Design View before. We were at Design View of a table. This is Design View of a query. So in the Query Design View, in the upper pane, you've got your table and all the fields. And then in the lower pane, these are the fields that you want to print. Now in this example, they want us to only pull up a certain account manager. I don't want to see all 4 of my account managers. Maybe I'm the boss and I kind of want to see how many clients my account manager 35 is in charge of. So if I go down to my fields at the bottom, I'm going to go over to account manager number. I'm going to go down to criteria. And on that criteria line, I'm going to type in 35. That's the manager I'm looking for. And then when I'm done, I go up and I hit run. It searches your entire database and it only pulls up the records that you told it to. So you should have 5 results. And that answer is on page 38 if you want to take a look at that. Okay, so I based this query off of my very first one. I did not use the wizard, so it did not get saved automatic. This is when we're going to go up to your quick access toolbar, and we added that Save As tool. Going to go to Save As. It's trying to make a copy of our query, so get rid of copy of. And let's just change that query 1 to a query 2. And OK. And then that will get saved over here in the quick access toolbar. So you should have 2 tables, 2 queries, and then we're going to set up a couple reports here in a minute. If you have an extra table, I think in my first one, I think we did have an extra table. If you want to right click it and choose delete on that extra table that just says table 1, you can. Doesn't hurt if it's sitting there. Okay, so that is a little bit about queries. You have a few slides in your PowerPoint. If you look at your notes, that'll walk you through how to set those up. And then our last thing, we're going to look at how to set up a report. So if you want to take a look at how to set up a report, reports are over on page 41, and we'll create our report. So let's go to Access. We're going to go up to Create. We're going to go over to Reports. They have their own group. We're going to use the Report Wizard. And we are going to work with our account manager, no, account table, just your plain account table. And you need to pick and choose your fields. They would like us to include account number, account name. We're going to grab amount paid, current due, and account manager number. So again, we're leaving the address over to the far left, and we'll hit next and next. And if I wanted to sort it in a certain order, I could, but we're not going to do that quite yet. So we'll just hit next. And I can decide the layout. To me, when I look at these layouts, this reminds me of a bill that I might receive in the mail. Lots of companies, lots of businesses use Access or a type of database, maybe that's built specifically for their business to do billing. So that looks similar to me to a bill. Go next. And the very last step of your wizard is very important. It's going to allow us to name our database report here. And they want us to call it our account financial report. Again, stick your name on the tail end of it and hit finish. And this is our report. So we use the wizard. Remember, when you use the wizard, it saves it automatically. So it's saved for us. It looks very similar to page 41. They have added some totals to the bottom. Let me zoom out so you can see that. They have some totals for a couple columns, and I want to show you how to do that. So the preview that we're in right now, we're in print preview, and if I close out of that, that's going to look a little weird. Don't freak out. It's normal that it would look like this. We're going to go over to the far left and take a look at View, and we're going to go to Layout View. And that is important. Write that down. Layout View allows you to make some adjustments to your report. So Layout View is where you need to be if you want to change anything. I'm going to close out of this. All right, they would like us to scooch over at current due. You notice that it's kind of crunched up with account manager number. So if you can select your current due field, just click on it, hold down Control, and click on all of the numbers underneath it. So if you click on one number, it should grab them all. And if I just scoot that over just a little bit to the left, that'll separate those just a little bit. All right, we are now ready to go up and take a look at your Design tab. On the Design tab, there's a tool called Totals, and they are asking us to total up a couple columns here. So randomly click on any number in the amount paid column. Be on a number and click it, and that should grab all those numbers. They should kind of have a yellow highlight around those. Go up to Totals, and let's sum those up. And hopefully you're getting 339, 566, 70. If you're not, take a second, proofread, and then circle in your book any number that's off, and then go over and we'll show you how to make corrections in your database in a minute. Don't correct it here. And this is our practice document. Doesn't even matter. Don't fix it here. That's not going to do us any good. But just circle it in your book so you know what to go change. Let's select a number in current due. Again, they should all be highlighted, connected. Let's go up to Totals and choose Sum. And hopefully you're getting 36, 7, 24, 70. Okay. Again, you can hit save if you want to, but it's saved automatically. If you had a mistake, you would want to come back over to the original table, make any adjustment that you needed to. If you had typed in a number wrong, fix the number, and then hit enter or click off of it so it really gets accepted into the database. Close out of the table. You can just right click and close the table. And then you need to reopen your report. So this is still my old report. I can close it up here, right click and close. And after you make a mistake, if you want to fix it and then reopen it, it should adjust and change. So anytime in Access that you see a mistake and you need to adjust something, always go back to the table and fix any errors that you see in the table, because everything is based off of that very first table that you created. So that should get you the report that you see on page 41 with some totals. And I believe that gets you through chapter 1 of Access. There's a lot of reading. You'll want to read over it and make sure you're good with everything, but I think that's going to do as you work through this chapter. Now, in the textbook, they talk to you about importing some data, and I'm actually having you type it in this very first project just so you get the feel of how to set these up. But in your lab activities, you're going to actually import some things, and I'll put some files out there for you. But when you import, you're going to go up to external data, and you're going to be importing some things from Excel. So you'll choose Excel, and then you'll go out and get the file that you need to. You'll go right here. So that's a little extra step that you're going to need as you work on those lab activities. So again, external data, Excel, and then go out and get the file. So you're going to look at Lab 1, creating objects for the Garden Naturally database. And then Lab 2 is creating the museum gift shop database. And again, you're going to a couple tables. You're going to work with some queries and some reports. And you'll save all of those and submit those to me. And then we use these 3 databases that we create in Chapter 1. And we'll build off of those, and in Chapter 2, we're just going to do a bunch of queries on these databases. So that should get you through Chapter 1. Good luck. Read the chapter, watch the PowerPoint, read over that, play with it a little bit, practice, and let me know if you have questions or need help with anything. Good luck.